Hey everybody, Lee McHugh here. Hope you're enjoying Super Bowl III. Thrilled right now to be joined by a true legend of the game, the Hall of Famer himself, Joe Namath. Joe, it's great to see you. How have you been?
Liam, I've been well, thank you, and the family's well. How about yourself?
We're doing okay. We're getting through this. I love the tie-dye. We're looking for projects with the kids every day. So just a couple of days ago, it was tie-dye day here in the McHugh house. So if you see 3 blondies walking around with tie-dye shirts, they're mine. It'll be okay.
It'll be good.
You know, we talk about Super Bowl III. There's no way to begin this without going right back to the guarantee. So bring me back there. Thursday, before the big game, set the scene. You were at the Miami Touchdown Club. Now, you step up to a podium, and what happens?
Thursday night before the game, I was at the Miami Touchdown Club to receive an honor for the AFL Player of the Year. Meantime, what happened is for 10 days or so, we've been hearing how we were going to get whipped. I mean, we were 18-point underdogs, and it was kind of irritating, you know, and we all were confident. I'm talking about our team and myself, and when I got up to the podium, man, I'm just getting ready to talk and to say something, and a dude in the back of the room yells out, "Hey, Namath, we're going to kick your you-know-what." You see, and I said, whoa, wait a minute, man. Wait a minute. I got news for you. We're going to win the game. I guarantee you. And that was it. You know, I just went on and I didn't realize that was, I'm glad it was picked up.
Well, you were starting to say that you didn't realize, because you had said you had been confident before this. Did you think by using the word guarantee it was going to blow up in the way it did?
No. I didn't give much thought to what I said because that's the way I felt. That's the way I was living. That's the way our team felt, you know, man. And for somebody to say, "Hey, we're going to kick your you-know-what again," excuse me, I got news for you, buddy. We're going to win the game. I guarantee you. That was simple. It was real.
Well, obviously, we know how the Colts felt about it. You mentioned that they were 18-point favorites. How did your teammates react to it?
Well, it was initially, they busted my chops a bit. You know, Johnny Sample had some things he and I talked about it when I got back to the hotel, and Johnny just said, "Shucks, Joe, why'd you do that?" And I told him that's how I felt. Coach Eubank was upset the next day, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He knew how the Colts were overconfident. We knew that. We felt that. And the players, come on. They just beat the Cleveland Browns 34-0 in the championship game. They lost one game.
Yeah.
That was to the Browns early in the season, man. They had to be overconfident. And Coach Eubank felt like I had given Coach Shula ammunition to get his team fired up. In fact, we've said, he's going to take those clippings and put them on the bulletin board in the locker room to get those guys fired up. And he was right. Coach Eubank was right. Of course, I told Coach Eubank it was his fault because he convinced us we were going to win the game. So when I told him it was all his fault, they told me to get out of his face, get off, go away. And I ran off the practice field.
Well, outside of what Coach Eubank had told you to give you that confidence, you mentioned everything that the Colts had done. Obviously you get irritated with a question like that, and I imagine you were irritated and annoyed throughout the entire week with the media wondering if you guys would even compete with this team. So you have that factor where you react. But deep down inside, what gave you the confidence in your team going against the Colts?
Well, I never played with the lack of confidence. I mean, even if we were an underdog, I believed we could win every game we ever went into, and that was starting back in Little League midget football. That was starting in Beaver Falls High School, college, Alabama. Hey, excuse me, we're not going out there to lose. We're going out there to win. And if you don't believe you can do it, you won't.
Before that moment, I think of the images of you throughout that week, and you're kind of You know, you're cool, relaxed, you're holding court by the pool. Then there's that moment. Then you get to the game. You seem to be soaking it in. You were able to enjoy the week while preparing. At what point, because it happens to every player, at what point, though, does it go from the enjoyment of the week, getting ready to, oh, we're on the field, this is real? Was there a moment where you hit the field and you were like, whoa, you saw something or you saw someone and it was like, all right, we got to flip the switch here?
Yes, Liam. Coach Eubank wanted to keep things as close to normal as possible. And that's why when we went to Florida the week before the game, he didn't have curfews. He didn't have restrictions on us. He trusted us. He told us to go about our work the same way we would for any other game. He allowed the players to have their wives come with them, the ones that were married, of course. And so we treated it like a normal work week. And the night before the game, we did have a curfew and we had our team get together and all. Practices were basically normal. And we, none of us, I don't think any of us on the team were worried about a lack of preparation, man. We were pro players. We earned our way there and we were all confident.
I think about the imagery, and we'll see it later on in the game, of you running off the field, the number one up. But talk to me about walking onto the field for the first time. The sights, the sounds, being in the Super Bowl, being in that moment, stepping onto that field, getting ready, the coin toss. What was that like for you?
Liam, before the game, before the actual kickoff, when we came back out of the locker room, I was walking beside Jim Hudson, our strong safety. And I looked over at Jim. I said, hey, Hud, this is our kind of game, man. And that was because we had played Texas in the Orange Bowl when he and I were both seniors. We had George Sauer. They had George Sauer. He was on our team. John Elliott was on our team. We had some Texas players. And it just reminded me of that night in the Orange Bowl. It was a big game, and this was another big game. That's what I was saying. Hey, Hud, this is our kind of game, man. And he would say, yeah, this is it, Jack. And it was it, walking, I tell you, Liam, when Johnny Sample and I stood with the official on the sideline getting ready to go out for the coin toss, that was a little different because I'm standing there looking across the field, feeling where we are, getting ready to play for the championship of the world in football, man. I mentioned the Little League football and the high school football. They are all the biggest things in your life at that time when you're that age. Well, here I was as a pro player. We had a chance to win the championship of the football world. And it was, man, I was feeling it. And looking across the field, I saw number 19 over there, a fella named Johnny Unitas. Now, I had been a fan of Johnny's for years, man, going back to my high school days, and even maybe before. And I just felt, wow. Wow, this is it. This is where we are. And we're walking out on the field, and I swear to you, I see Johnny Sample. I saw him run a kickoff back for a touchdown when he was playing for the Baltimore Colts. In my mind's eye, I'm seeing this stuff going on. And I'm saying, oh, man, this is special. And the rest of the time, the coin toss and all that, I wasn't paying much attention. I was kind of caught up in where we were and kind of marveling at it,
Oh, I mean, I feel like you'd have to at that point. So all these things are going through your mind, and then the game starts. And, a big part of this game is the fact that you were at the line of scrimmage, often calling plays, dictating what was happening. First quarter of this game, what did you see from the Colts defense, and what did that tell you about the direction this game was going to take?
Okay, let me go back, just back up a minute, because I've never told anybody about this thought that I had.
Yeah.
I was ready to work. I was telling this is dead serious. I looked around, I saw Sam didn't have his helmet on. These guys didn't have their helmets on, the quarterback, Johnny and the guy. I kept my helmet on because I wanted them to know I'm ready to work, Jack. This is no show. You know, and that, you look back at that film and you'll see that I got my helmet on because I was ready to go to work. I interrupted you, so start over again with the.
No, that's great. I mean, I think it's funny because I think it really is the contrast from, like, we saw Broadway Joe throughout the week. We saw him poolside. We saw him in the bathing suit. But you got on the football field, hard hat on. Yeah. You're ready to go. You got your lunch pail. No, it's business time now. You're ready to work. Let's get down to it. So you go on the field, and a lot of this game is in your control because you're up there calling plays. Now you're at the line of scrimmage, and you're looking at this Colts defense in the first quarter. What did they show you, and what did that tell you about the direction you needed to take in this game?
You know, in the first quarter, we were already prepared, man. I mean, it wasn't like I hadn't seen this team before. We saw this team on film throughout the year. We had a chance to look at a lot of their film. Now, why would they change anything for the New York Jets? When it came to their defense being touted as the best defense that ever played in the history of the NFL, why would they change for us? Meantime, studying the film, we got hip to what they do in different linemen and down and distance situations, as well as time on the clock. And when I'd come up to the line of scrimmage, actually, before we came, I'd just get in the huddle and I'd tell the guys the formation, hey, split right, check with me on so-and-so, you know, on a give them a snap count, on 2. And we'd go up to the line of scrimmage and, hey, excuse me, I'd start getting down and just looking at where these guys were lining up, how they looked. Did one of them look like they were coming like they did on the films, one of the blitzes? Then I'd call the play to combat that. You know, I would call a play according to what the look they gave me and what I knew they were going to do, what our team knew they'd do.
You know, you look back at the Colts now, these years later, and obviously there's this idea they didn't change their defense. They didn't cater it to what you guys did offensively, and there's confidence that's a factor. But at this point, was that confidence, or do you think that was arrogance?
That was part arrogance, too, because you got to remember in the first championship game, the Green Bay Packers handled the Kansas City Chiefs pretty good. And the second one, the Packers handled the Raiders pretty good. There were a lot of players in that NFL that thought they were better than the players in the AFL. We had to win the game to show them. Now, we beat them in a preseason games, whatever. We had to win the championship game. So, yes, they were arrogant. Yes, they were overconfident. Yes, they were in big trouble and didn't know it.
So we have a whole bunch of people who are rewatching this game. Obviously, there are some younger football fans maybe watching it for the first time. It took you a while to go back and rewatch this entire game. How long exactly, and why did it take so long?
Well, it took so long because of my experience, for one thing, and knowing, man, this is wonderful. We did it. We won. So why should I go back and look at my play, whether it was in high school, college, whatever. I look at the things I did wrong. I see the things jumping out at me that, oh, man, I should have, would have, I wished, you know. And I first looked at the game with our team the following season, prior to the beginning of the season, back in New York. And I was disappointed in missing Sauer, for example, in the first pass I threw in the game. He was open, man, and I threw it over. So those vibes I don't like, and I like the result, so I live with the result. I haven't gone back and watched the game in its entirety until I wrote this book recently in the last year, and I did watch a replay for the book that I was writing.
Were you able to enjoy it at that point, or were you still nitpicking your game?
I was still nitpicking my game, and I saw really on the replay that there was, there was a little bit splicing done in the game film itself, because there was a play that I had to leave the game. I hurt my right thumb. My right thumb was bad. I hurt it on a play, and I went off the field, and my man, before Johnny Unitas, Vito Bay Pirelli was my hero, our quarterback on the Jets. And Vito had to run onto the field, and it was a third down situation. He wasn't warmed up at all, and Baltimore came with a safety blitz, and we missed the pass. I mean, we missed the play. We didn't hit it. But that play's not in there. That's not shown. It picks up somewhere else. The old video does, and it never has me leaving the game at all. And but I'm glad, because it reminded me of Vito, my man Vito Pirelli, the Kentucky Babe.
Halftime of Super Bowl III, the Jets halfway to shocking the football world. Lee and McHugh back with Jets legend Joe Namath. Your team leads at 7-0. You're in the locker room. What do you recall being said?
Wow, being said, I don't recall a whole lot being said, other than we hadn't played our best ball yet. You know, I knew we hadn't played. I hadn't played my best ball. I missed firing a couple of times, throwing the ball. First pass I threw in the game. At halftime, we knew we had a long way to go, man. We had a fight with the Raiders a few weeks before. A couple weeks, you know, halftime, the game's not over. And yeah, maybe we had a rookie or two on the team, but we knew it wasn't over, and we hadn't played our best. So we were getting ready to go back out there.
Was it a matter of just executing a little bit better, or were there some adjustments that you needed to make in that second half?
There were, offensively speaking, it was my execution that held us back to a degree. I missed Sarr. I missed in a couple of passes that would have been bigger plays. But also, you got to give credit to that Baltimore Colts defense, too. Yep. I mean, they didn't get there without earning their way. They had a wonderful defense, wonderful players, smart veterans, man. These cats could play. And we knew they didn't feel like they played their best half, and they'd be coming out. This is a fresh second half, man.
Yeah, well, both defenses were showcasing their stuff in the first half. Second half, did you think you'd see Johnny Unitas?
You know, I didn't really give seeing Johnny come out in the field a lot of consideration, because I had known earlier in the week that his arm wasn't up to speed. He hadn't been playing. He'd been injured. And Earl Morrall was the NFL's MVP. He had a great season with the Baltimore Colts. It just so happened our defense had studied their offense too, and our guys were ready. Our defense played lights out, shut them out, man, until late. No, I wasn't thinking about Johnny at that time.
Welcome back, everybody. Lee and McHugh with Jets great Joe Namath. Joe, you guys really played the ultimate game of keep away during that third quarter. The Colts, they only had the ball for 7 plays. They gained 11 yards, didn't get the ball past midfield. Was there a sense that you could feel of their frustration?
Early in that third quarter, I believe our defense created a fumble, and we recovered it. Now, they hadn't scored on us in the first half. We were going to get points one way or another. We had a heck of a field goal kicker in Jim Turner, and we had good position on the field. We worked it down close enough to get 3, because that meant the Colts would need to have 2 scores, and they hadn't scored 1 yet. So we took the 3, and we continued to play that way. The Colts hadn't showed us they could do what their offense had been doing. Our defense had been shutting them down. So we just were satisfied with taking the field goals, giving Jim a chance to get them, and building our lead.
Yeah, your defense pitching a shutout at this point. You're up 13-0. You're headed to the fourth quarter. In your mind, is there any doubt about the approach offensively?
No, not unless something changes drastically. Really, I mean, we're playing the game with the way it is right now, unfolding, and what's going to happen and what unfolds will adjust. We had a team that could adjust. if Baltimore were to score early in that fourth with a touchdown, hey, maybe we would have opened up a little bit more. But there was no need to open up because, again, our defense was shutting these guys down.
You look ahead and, in the fourth quarter, you famously don't attempt a single pass. Was there any talk of mixing in a pass during that fourth quarter?
When we talked about it at one time, I believe the coach had called timeout. It could have been us, but I went to the sideline. Coach Eubank was there, and it was a third down situation. Now, the score, I believe, was 16-7 at that time. No, it wasn't. We still had them 16-0.
16-0.
Yeah. Coach Eubank asked me what I liked, and I said, Coach, I don't know. What do you like? I said, he said, well, what do you think of 74-8, which was a pass play? And, well, Coach, looking at the big old scoreboard where there was a 0 up there, I say, Coach, they hadn't scored on our defense yet. I'd rather not throw. And he said, okay, go ahead with a 34 power or 36, whatever. I said, yes, sir. And I went back on the field, and that was the only time we talked about a play in the game, and it was a passing play that we just didn't have a good vibe with, and ended up running the ball and continuing to run the ball.
I think I could interview 100 quarterbacks after this, and I don't think I'd get a story like that. Come on, quarterbacks, they get offered a passing play. They take the passing play, Joe.
We played the game to win, period, and what they hadn't done a thing to our defense yet. Our defense was playing well, like you mentioned earlier. Early in the game, Baltimore gained some good yardage or so, but our defense tightened up. When the field shrinks, it's sometimes tougher for the offense to have some room to do things all the time. Our defense let the field shrink to a degree, didn't give up the big plays throughout the game.
We talked at halftime about the idea that, you guys are playing well. Defense is playing exceptionally well. But halftime, still a lot of football to be played. Now 13-0 headed to the fourth quarter. Do you remember having concerns?
Concern? No, I wasn't concerned. I wanted to get some more points. That wasn't even 2 full score lead, 13-0, 2 touchdowns, then they're in front, man. It was still running that clock and trying to get some points. And that's what we did. We ran the clock and we kicked another field goal. Jim Turner, he made 3 that day and he missed 2. Groza missed 2. Not Groza, but Michaels missed 2 also. There was a pretty good breeze going across the field that day, and it influenced the kicks a bit. So there weren't any gimmies. Well, Jim was he was good. He kicked his 3rd field goal. Now we have 16-0. That means they need 3 scores, not just 2 scores. They need 3 scores to get ahead. Hey, the way our defense is playing, they're not going to get 3 scores.
You're playing to win the game. Like another former member of the Jets famously said at one point. Lee McHugh back with Joe Namath. Jets shocked the world. They shocked everybody except for the Jets and Joe Namath, who predicted that this would happen. Joe, right after the game, you're on the field, shaking hands, hugging. What's the scene like? Who are you looking for?
I wasn't looking for anybody. Don Shinnick, the linebacker, defensive captain for the Colts, was the first guy other than my teammates we hugged, was the first guy that I saw and met me on the field. And Don asked me to remember the good Lord. And I said, boy, thank you, Don. Yes, always will. And then after that, I was just trying to get off the field because there was people starting to run out there. A couple teammates, Hudson, Richards, whatever, we hugged one another. And as I'm going down the sideline, I just feeling we won, but I'm thinking about getting off the field too. And I look up and I see all these people so happy down at the corner of the end zone for the tunnel above the tunnel that we're going in. And man, I knew they were Jets fans. I knew they were the Jets fans. They were the AFL fans. And that just was like, yeah, we did it. We're number one. The AFL, the Jets, we're number one. That was the only time I ever put that finger up there. But I mean, even though we did it in college, we won championship there, and in high school, it was not the thing to do. Coming from the coaches that I played for, you didn't beat your own chest when you won a game. You know, you let your actions speak louder than the words, and you didn't give any beating of your chest.
Well, it really is. I mean, it's one of the most iconic images in Super Bowl history. And, you know, Joe, you say don't beat your chest, but to me, you're not mugging for the cameras. Those shots, they're from behind, most of them. You know, you're running off.
They're from behind. And also, if you notice the shot, I'm not looking up there, big smile, and my head's down. I look at the body language. It was like finished, man. We did it. We're number one. You look, my head's down. It was body language. It was relaxed and just, yeah, we did it.
Well, it's a win that meant so much to so many people. We know what it meant to you. Well, let's talk about your coach, Weeb Ewbank. What did this victory mean to him, former Colts coach?
Wow. You know, Coach Ewbank had already won championship over there in the NFL with the Baltimore Colts. And Coach Ewbank came from the school of coaching under Paul Brown, Ohio University, all that stuff, and he had the passion. He was also our general manager, too. And Coach Ewbank, what did it mean to him? It's not like he needed anything else in his resume, man. He took it like a winner. He knew how to represent the team and himself, and he wasn't jumping up and down, beating his chest or anything. He knew we could do it, and we performed the way he wanted us to perform. So he was happy. You can bet he was happy. And I look at his picture every day I go in my exercise room. He's standing there back at Shea Stadium, snow on the ground, and we were standing there with two number ones up there. The only coach in the history of the game that won the professional championship in two different leagues, the NFL and the AFL.
You know, that being said, did you get a sense from other players or other teams of what this meant to the AFL?
Oh, of course. The first group, before just getting back to the hotel, the Kansas City Chief guys were there, man. Willie Lanier was out there, Buck Buchanan, Emmett Thomas, you know, greeting us when we got back. Yeah, we knew it was. I got goosebumps talking to you about that. I promise you. It was an AFL win. We knew the league. We knew we could play, but we had to win the big one.
Joe, when you think of Weeb Ewbank, even all these years later, what immediately comes to mind?
He knew a lot more than I gave him credit for early on. He was a heck of a lot sharper, and he had us ready for that championship game. We would preach to us about poise and execution. That's two words, you know, poise and execution. But man, through the years, I've recognized it more and more in everything we do. I see guys out on the field starting to push and shove and hitting one another, losing their poise, getting a penalty. You know, the poise is so important to stay steady, you know, to keep your mind into what you're doing. It's a distraction to lose it and go somewhere else. So we've insisting upon us keeping our poise and then execution. And whenever I think of the execution, man, when we talk about me going up the line of scrimmage and calling a play because of what I see in the defense, that's one thing. But the linemen, they had to execute. They blocked those guys. Snell run 130 some yards. Boozer's blocking for him. We outplayed those guys offensively and defensively. And it came down to, I really believe, the poise maintained throughout the game because the Colts were behind. I've got to believe they started tightening up a little bit. They started losing their poise a little bit down the stretch. And the execution, we were ahead of them from the beginning.
And those two words, they'll stay with you forever because it's on that championship ring.
It's right there on that New York Jets, world champions, poise and execution on each side. Yes.
You know, one of the other still shots that sticks in my mind following this game is you in the locker room hugging your father.
Yeah.
What was that moment like for you? Take me back there.
Wonderful, special. I thank God for that moment too, man. Being able to have my dad there, who's been with me. I can see him right now in my mind's eye, standing over there on the high school practice field sideline, the only parent out there. We're practicing. It's wet, it's blowing, it's cold. My dad's over there watching practice. He gave me every opportunity to play sports. He'd get me a new glove for baseball and take me to practice, man. He was great. And he never played himself. He never played football. He was a steel worker. He did a lot of jobs. I'm first generation Hungarian. And when he got over here at 11 years old, he went right to work.
You know, back in the fourth quarter, because we've talked about Johnny Unitas a couple times, you know, how things sort of got real. You saw Johnny Unitas right before the coin flip, and we wondered if he would get in the game at halftime. So he gets in the game. They get a touchdown. They do recover an onside kick. Is there at some point where you, Joe Namath, are going, oh, no, we're giving Johnny Unitas a chance here?
Not all no, but I was concerned, no doubt. As soon as Johnny came on the field, I was concerned. I knew there was magic in that man. I had seen him play some great football, and you couldn't count him out. We hadn't seen him throw except for the warm-ups, and you couldn't count him out. You didn't put anything past Johnny being able to do on the football field. So, yeah, I was standing on the sidelines more, watching that game more with concern. We were so close to achieving our dream, our goal as football players, and it still hadn't happened, man. You don't count it until it's over, till that gun goes off.
Well, it did happen. You guys win the Super Bowl, but for the Jets franchise, the one and only Super Bowl appearance. You talk about Jets fans, and Joe, I grew up in a house full of them, okay? And Jets fans that I know and grew up with on Long Island who spent their lives, early part of their lives, going to Shea Stadium, they describe themselves as Jets fans, but they always use the prefix long-suffering Jets fans. You have reason for optimism for them right now?
I have a reason for optimism because I know it can be done. And secondly, let's not complain. There are still teams out there that haven't won one world championship in football or Super Bowl.
Well, that's good enough reason for me. Joe, thank you so much for doing this. It's great to see you. Wonderful to look back at Super Bowl III.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.